and I totally failed with my TBRs because I just got into a total reading slump. So, oh my gosh, I thought my camera was gonna fall. Hello, my name is Elise. If you've been watching my videos, you'll notice my bookshelf is rearranged. If you didn't check out the video where I did all of this, you should. I thought that August was kind of a weird reading month for me. It was slightly less than usual, which was fine, but I just got into a huge reading slump, and a lot of the books that I was reading were kind of mediocre, or I just didn't like them that much. And then at like the end of the month I just read a bunch. I don't know. Yeah, and I did 2 readathons, the Avatar one and the Galleathon, except they happened right when I was in that reading slump, so yeah, the TBRs just kind of went out the window. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, the first one is a graphic novel. Goodreads claims that I read it in July, but I'm pretty sure I read it in August, but whatever. It's called Carmen. I read it as an ARC, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because I gave it 3 stars, but like, I don't think I would recommend it. It's about this woman. She becomes like a ghost, I guess, and she's led through the afterlife, I guess you would say, by this angel. I didn't like it because I'm gonna slap like every single trigger warning known to man on this. The woman dies by suicide. There's very graphic imagery because it is a graphic novel, so like there's images, but like really explicitly violent images of self-harm, of death, blood, gore, all of that. So I would say that's kind of pretty triggering material. I actually had a hard time getting through it. I usually don't mind, or I don't have a hard time consuming that kind of concept, but the whole time I was reading this I was like, I do not want to be looking at these images. Like they were well done, they're good artwork, but like too much for me. Next is another graphic novel, because at this point in the month I just could not bring myself to read novels, like word novels. What are not graphic novels called? Anyways, it's called Primer. I think it's more of like a kid's novel, I guess you would say, middle grade. And I thought it was really cute, and I love the artwork. It's about this kind of like moody, rebellious girl. I think she's like 12, something young, and she's kind of bouncing around different foster homes, and it takes this like sci-fi turn. I don't want to say too much because I like the way that the story unraveled, but basically superpowers are involved, which was really cool, and like all the artwork was super colorful, which I really appreciated because colors, I don't know. But yeah, I thought it was super fun, and I would actually love a sequel to this one. Okay, next I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and controversial opinion alert, I gave this a good old 2 stars. It's just a romance novel about like a awkward woman and she meets someone. I don't know. I think the reason I didn't like it that much is because I listened to the audiobook, and my goodness, this was probably like the worst audiobook I've ever listened to. It was bad in the way that like the narrator didn't fit the characters. She just sound, or maybe it was because I was listening to it not at 1x speed, I don't know, but the narrator felt a lot older than the characters, and at some points like I just felt like it was awkward to listen to, and there were some scenes that I really would have preferred to be reading on paper rather than listening to while I was in public. I don't know, I just could not stand the audiobook. I really struggled to finish it. But as you can see up here, I have the physical book now, so perhaps a reread is in store, because I've heard such great things about this book, and that audiobook, that was not the move. So maybe in the future I will be doing a reread and hopefully like it more, because again, I must be missing something if I gave it 2 stars and everyone's like, hey, this is like absolutely a 5-star read. Next, I read Such a Fun Age, and I loved this one. I will admit, I did read it because of all that reading rush controversy. I don't usually pick up adult novels, but I was like, what a great opportunity to do so, and I'm so glad I did. This was like an instant 5-star read from me. It's about a woman, she's Black, she works as a nanny slash babysitter. I forgot the difference. Yeah, I think it's a babysitter for this rich, wealthy, white family. And it's all about like her relationship with like the other characters in the story. And of course there's like all this racial stuff. And it's just full of these really subtle plot twists that have you like like it's not like, you know, you read a thriller and there's these like huge dramatic plot twists. It's not like that. It's like these really subtle plot twists that make this story so great, really ties together everything. Highly recommend. I don't know why the Reading Rush host did not finish this, because like I was sitting there reading it on my iPad, like scrolling so fast that I had to go back. So good. Next I read This Town Sleeps, and I read this for the Avatar Readathon, and I was super excited for it because it is by an Indigenous author about Indigenous characters, and I just feel like that's such an underrepresented group. So I was looking forward to it, but unfortunately this was not the one for me. Again, I was also excited because it has LGBT rep, and I was like, great, all the good things. But it has the thing, like the kind of trope that I really don't like anymore. All this gay suffering and secrets and pain, and I like that's fine in some moderation. I know that experience is common, but I just don't like to read stories anymore that are focused on all this doom and gloom when it comes to minority identities. I also thought the writing was pretty mediocre. So yeah, I really wanted to love it so much more, but I just felt like it was too much hiding. And again, that's like a valid experience, but also not what I'd like to be reading right now, if that makes sense. Next, I read The Rise of Kiyoshi, which I like so much that I have Miss Kiyoshi's face just staring us down during this video. If you have no idea what this book is, it is about one of the avatars in the series Avatar: The Last Airbender, the show. And this is like a novel version of it. It was super good. It felt like an Avatar episode, which I really loved. Kiyoshi is amazing. I feel the need to like pull her down. Look at her, she's great. But yeah, I thought it was so great. The only complaint I have was the writing was super basic. And again, it is young adult, so that was expected, but I felt like the structure itself was too simple. Like, I don't know if that's only me that gets bothered by that kind of thing. But yeah, otherwise super good. If you are an Avatar fan, this is a must read. Pick it up right now. Kiyoshi is calling you. Then I read Mooncakes. This is another graphic novel. It's about like bookstores and magic. What else do you need? I'll tell you what else you need. It also has so many LGBT characters, including a non-binary character that explicitly says I use they, them pronouns, so that's cool. There's also a character that uses hearing aids, and in all of the illustrations with this character, you can clearly see the hearing aids, which was great. There are so many different characters that look different from each other, different bodies, appearances, kinds of relationships. It was so good. I wasn't expecting all this representation, and just amid this magic vibe, so good. Definitely recommend. Next, I read The Last True Poets of the Sea, and I thought this was super fun. Like, the vibe, the atmosphere, it was so cool. It's about this girl, her name is Violet, and she's getting shipped back to this town called Lyric, because she is a wild, misbehaving teen, whatever. And she also has this family history that involves a shipwreck, and that plays a big part in the story. And then she starts working at an aquarium and meets all these people. That's not a great summary, but the characters were really fun. I read it because someone recommended it to me as a sapphic novel. The character is bisexual. I really liked it, but my one complaint is that it had the one thing I really don't like. It had this love triangle type thing. I won't say too much to avoid spoilers, but yeah, that was my only complaint. And also, I really like the cover. Very cute. Next, I read How to Be a Normal Person. If you have seen or heard or read, whatever, The House in the Cerulean Sea is the same author, but this one is about this guy named Gus, and he is, and I quote, not normal. He has pet ferrets, and he works at a video store, and he's super awkward, and all of that. He's a strange but lovable character. And then he meets, and I quote, an asexual stoner hippie, which I think that is enough for you to want to read that book. I don't know, that's what caught me. It's an adult novel, contemporary. I thought it was really great. I loved the characters. I like actually laughed out loud a few times, which is always a fun experience because it takes a lot to make me laugh. The dialogue was great. It was so good. The one complaint I have is that the writing style was kind of mediocre, but overall I really liked it and the characters were fantastic. Next I read We Set the Dark on Fire, just for a very basic simple summary. It's about these girls. They go to this school to get trained and they're trained to do these tasks that will help them in marriage. I don't know. I didn't like this as much as I wanted to. I really had a hard time paying attention to the story. I'm not sure why. I really didn't like the writing style, and like none of the characters really stuck out to me. I really wanted to like this because I've heard so many good things about it, but for some reason, like I'd read an entire page and I'd be like, what did I just read? But I don't know, the ending was crazy. I really liked the ending. Like the middle, the beginning, I kind of spaced out during, but the end, super jam-packed with action. I was like, what? And I saw there's a sequel, so maybe I have to pick that up. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed with that one. Next, I read Upright Women Wanted. It's about like cowboy librarian queer women, I guess I would say. It was a really interesting story. I didn't know what I was expecting. I don't even, like when I read it, or I listened to it as an audiobook, and I had no idea what was going on, but it was cool. I wish I read it as a physical book though, because I think it was a bit too complex for me to be listening to while I was doing other things. But yeah, I thought it was super interesting and super creative. And then at this point in the month, this is where I started picking up my reading speed, because I had a bunch of 5-star reads in a row and I was reading them in like a day or two and loved all of these. So next is Grown. I love Tiffany D. Jackson and this one was excellent. First of all, look at that cover. And anyways, it's about a girl and she's this really, really talented singer. Her name is Enchanted, and she meets this guy named Corey, and he's gonna take her under his wing and totally make her singing career explode. He's gonna make her famous. It's gonna be great. He is also significantly older than Enchanted, who is a minor, and then it gets crazy. I wrote like an entire full-fledged, very excited review for this book if you want to check that out on Goodreads, but I don't even know how to explain how all these things happened. It felt like I was like reading a movie, I guess is the way to describe it. Corey is 28, Enchanted is 17, a relationship between them forms, not the legal kind. And then there's all these other factors with her family needing money, and Corey could provide that. It's just like mind-blowing the whole time. So many plot twists. I was like reading it with my mouth hanging open because I was in shock the whole time. I will slap a bunch of trigger warnings on that one. There's clearly pedophilia, there's sexual assault, there's drugging of minors, there's murder, there's violence, manipulation, gaslighting, kidnapping, yeah, all of that. Next, I read Who I Was with Her. I loved this one. This is not a happy kind of story. It's very sad. At the core, it's about grief. It's about a girl whose girlfriend dies, but they were not out as a couple. So this girl has to kind of deal with her grief alone. And then later on, at the girl's funeral, she meets her ex. So it's this whole story about grief and her relationship with other people, and it's so beautiful, so well done. I've not really seen a story like this before, and I don't know, it was so touching. Again, it is about grief, it's about death, so it's gonna be emotional, but it was beautiful. So, funny story, if you notice that right now I have changed outfits and maybe my camera's in a different location or the lighting's different, that's because halfway through making this video, I had to go do something, and then the 3 brain cells running around in my head forgot that I didn't finish filming. So, Yeah, let's do that now. Moving along. So next I read Dear America, Notes of an Undocumented Citizen. And I actually read this as a required summer reading for the college I just transferred to. And when I didn't know what this was about, I had it on my to-read shelf for Goodreads, but I didn't remember what it was about. And I am so impressed that my school chose this as the summer reading because it is a nonfiction memoir about a Filipino immigrant, and he's also a gay man. So points to my school. And also my school is a Catholic university, so that's great. But anyways, I really enjoyed this one. It's a memoir, again, not difficult to consume, but it goes through this man's hardships and his sense of identity for what it means to be both an immigrant, a Filipino immigrant specifically, and an American, and also to have this gay identity. And I just thought it was very interesting because as someone who's Filipino, I don't often see that identity represented, so that was super cool to see. And yeah, if you're looking for some nonfiction, would definitely recommend this one. Next, I read The Vanishing Half, and this was super interesting. It's about these two twins, and they live together, all of that, but later on in life, they drift apart, and they live very different lives. One of them has a black daughter, living that kind of life. The other one passes as white, and her husband has no idea of her past. And it's this multi-generational story about these women and their daughters, and I just thought it was very interesting the way these stories interacted with each other and intersected, because again, it's two generations and you can definitely see these generational differences in thought and also just the differences in these twins. So this is a very cool one if you are looking for some adult fiction. Next, I read Punching the Air, and this actually might be one of my favorite books I'm mentioning here. I listened to an arc of the audiobook. Can you call an audiobook an arc? Whatever. But it's about this black teenager, and he is falsely accused of this crime against a white person. And of course, that does not go down well. And it's just about his journey through the prison system and all the injustices. And he's a super angry boy, but like rightfully so. And it's also in verse. It's beautiful verse. I actually thought the audiobook was so good. A million thanks to the narrator for bringing this book to life. But I thought it was so good that I actually put the physical book on hold. So I'm rereading this like weeks within finishing it. But yeah, so good, so emotional. I loved every second of it, and it's co-written by one of the people who were part of the Central Park Five. So I thought that was a very interesting element to this story, and again, one of my favorite reads from this month, so please check this out. Next, I read Hood Feminism, and this is nonfiction. It's a collection of essays about different feminist topics and social justice topics. I thought this was good if you are looking for a broad, diverse collection of social justice topics. I wouldn't say they go too in depth with each topic because again, there's so much in this book, but I definitely thought this was an excellent collection of information. So again, if you're looking for some nonfiction regarding feminist social justice issues, this is a great one. Super easy to read. I thought the audiobook was really great and it's very informative. Then I read The Falling in Love Montage. I thought this was super cute. It's a sapphic novel, YA contemporary. It's about a girl. She's kind of a mischievous, almost troublemaking, sassy girl. She meets some other girl at a party, and it's super fun. I laughed out loud. I love the characters, but it also has this very emotional, sad context within the story. She has troubles getting along with her dad. Her dad is pulling in a girlfriend into her life. Her mom has dementia. So yeah, there's such a great blend of so sad topics and also cute, hilarious, fluffy, sapphic romance. Next, I read The Love Study, and I was really disappointed with this one. I wanted to read it because it had such great LGBT representation. So many of the characters had identities that fall under that umbrella. The main character is dating someone who's non-binary. So I was like, yes, that sounds great, except I read and I was like, no, this is not great. The love interest has this YouTube channel with this dating series, I guess you would say, and the main character is going to go on this series and potentially find love after he ditched his fiancée at the altar. I thought that sounded great, but I just didn't like the writing. I thought it was quite simplistic and juvenile for an adult novel, and none of the characters really stuck with me. It just wasn't my favorite. 2 stars from me. And lastly, I read the revised Fundamentals of Caring. I read this because there's a Netflix movie based on it called The Fundamentals of Caring. I loved that movie, although I did notice just about every single character in there was white, and I was like, huh, how does that even happen? Huh, I want to rewrite this. But anyways, I thought the book was good. It definitely felt like the movie. I gave it 4 stars. It gave me the same warm, fuzzy feelings that the movie gave me, but I don't know. This book is about a man who is training to be a caregiver. He's dealing with his own issues with his wife divorcing him and mental health and all of that. But anyways, he goes and meets this 19-year-old boy with muscular dystrophy, and he's gonna be his caregiver. Great, sounds good. Except the little twist to this book is that the characters are super sarcastic, so much vulgar humor. It's about their relationship with each other and the people they meet and what it means to be alive and living in this great, wonderful, big world and all of that. I did really like it. It gave me the same kind of warm, fuzzy feelings that the movie did, although I feel like the characters were a little weirdly judgmental. Like, you know, there's like sarcastic humor where they're judging people. That's fine. Some of these things I was like, like you're kind of judgy, but like not in the good way. But still, I gave it 4 stars. Other than that, I thought it was pretty good. All right, that concludes my wrap up for August. Again, it was kind of a weird month because I really liked some books, really didn't like others. There's a lot of books that I thought I'd love, but then didn't. There's some books that I didn't think I'd love and I gave them 5 stars. So yeah, it was a hit or miss kind of month, but looking forward to September. Actually, spoiler alert, I'm filming this in the middle of September and this month isn't going too well with reading, but that's okay. We still have the next half of this month. Anyway, stay tuned for my next videos. Goodbye. Thank you for watching. I was super excited for this one because it is by an